Hi, my name is Edman Ahmed. I'm a senior at UW-Madison. I'm a Muslim. I'm interested in the intersection of faith and mental health. I currently have an internship with the Wisconsin Faith Voices for Justice, and I was tasked with creating a project with only 2 requirements, which was it needed a youth perspective and it needed to be about religion. Since this is an interfaith organization, I was looking for a unifying factor that people of various faith had and young people too. And mental health was the only thing that came to mind. Do you think there's a connection between mental health and religion?
100%.
Yeah, I definitely feel that way.
I think there is a big connection with mental health and religion.
Of course, I do believe there is.
I've been living in Madison, Wisconsin since I was 7 years old, and being a senior at UW-Madison on a campus with over 30,000 students, I've been fortunate to be surrounded by people from different backgrounds my entire life. Being in these spaces made me curious about how religion actually shows up in people's lives. I wanted to understand how religion plays a role in people's lives by hearing different personal stories and perspectives. I knew how it showed up in my own life, but I didn't want to make assumptions or derive a conclusion only from a single perspective or one religion. For this project, I wanted to dig deeper into the connection between religion and mental health. So I brought together 4 former and current UW students from 4 different religions to give us their perspective on how they experience their faith in their everyday lives, with the purpose of learning about what type of connection religion and mental health shows up in their lives.
Well, my name is Lilia, but many people call me Lily. I am a senior here at this university, and I am triple majoring with Spanish, Lacis, and Chicana studies, pursuing the pre-law route. And my religion is Catholicism, but to be specific, it's Catholic Apostle Roman Christian.
My name is Sophie. I am a junior at UW-Madison. I am triple majoring in elementary and special education and Jewish studies, and I am Jewish.
My name is Khadijah. I am a senior majoring in biology and global health with certificates in life science communication and biocore, and I identify as Muslim.
Hi, my name is Daisy Hong. I'm 1 year post-grad. My major was human development and family studies, and my religion is Buddhism, but specifically Theravada Buddhism.
For me, at least, religion is something that I was born into. It's something that was given to me. And I think I've never really questioned it until maybe my teenage years when I gained consciousness. And I think just that thought process of why we do what we do for our religion and why our religion asks us to do this and things like that and how it fits into our life was kind of a question I've always had. And I think one of the topics with youth, or at least my age group, is we really do prioritize mental health, or we are having conversations about certain society boundaries or things like that.
Okay, religion has played such a big part in my time at UW and my experience.
For me personally, I think there are a few different factors. I think firstly, at least from an Islamic perspective, there are different actions and there are different rules and regulations that you abide by as a Muslim. So that's one aspect.
Me personally, religion means home, in a safe place where I can be myself and have that inner peace with my God and everything that goes around me.
My religion means to me, honestly, I feel like it's an individual pathway. It's not linear. it has to do with a lot of like religious and customs, like because I'm Laotian, so there's a lot of like religious customs that are very specific towards like Laos and like kind of Thai and Cambodian people. And it's just like a lot of like little steps you follow.
I think even though I go to services and I say the prayers and whatever, I think what I get most out of being Jewish is the cultural aspect of it and the community of people you find through it, and I found through it.
But I think the second goes a little bit more deeper into your character, also what is known as your akhlaq, and the way you live your day, if it's in alignment with the principles of Islam and in alignment with the figures, the role models in our religion. So I think, there's the ways that you go about your actions day to day, but I also think that there's the character, the intentionality, the morals that you think about on a day-to-day basis. So I think those are, for me personally, those are the two things that I really think about when I think about religion.
I think with all 4 participants, I got to see, they all did validate my experience with religion too. And despite us having different religions,
Personally, whenever I feel sad or whenever I feel down and feel like I'm alone, I start praying, like always like the Virgin Mary prayer, or even get like my rosary out, or even just talk randomly and just imagine God is in front of me and I'm just talking my way out, and it just feels great because I have somebody to listen to me. And not only that, but it's like He's not judging and He already knows what I'm going through. So it's a way out, and it's a bit hard at the same time when I first began my route of becoming more religious. But overall, I think it plays very well, and it's very important in the everyday life.
I think that one of the reasons I love my religion so much is because it's when I like enter this space of like doing things for the community around me and doing things with people that grew up similarly to me and with people that share the same values as me, that has impacted my mental health. And I think that when you enter a space, so for example, Friday night Shabbat services, whether you're going to the service, whether you're going to a dinner, however you're partaking in it, when you enter this space and you're with all these people, like I automatically feel like a lift in my chest, and it's like, okay, everything that's been going on this week, whether it was a good week or a bad week, like it's being left at the door, and like I'm here, I'm present, and like I'm focusing on like myself internally, like how am I? What are my values? How do I want to change? How do I want to be better next year or next week? How do I want to be better tomorrow? And I think like that's the biggest intersection, is the space it gives you to reflect on, okay, who am I as a person? How can I be better? What can I like pat myself on the back for doing well? And what do I want to work on?
And just to give a little bit of context, so I am the founder of the Islamic STEM Association, a student org that sits at the intersection between science and religion. And what was really interesting is last night we hosted a discussion on mental health and Islam. It was a journal club discussion based on an article by the Yaqeen Institute. And through reading this article, one thing that was like a huge takeaway was that religion and mental health are correlated and inextricably linked. I think they even gave an example of a case study where a Muslim was, seeking psychological help or treatment, and they didn't see improvement in their care until they included salah or prayer as a part of that care. So upon like reading the article and learning more, I guess from maybe a more scientific lens, it's just apparent to me that when we're thinking about mental health, there is definitely a connection But then also from speaking from a more personal perspective, I definitely notice when, I feel stronger and more aligned with my deen. I really feel connected with my religion. I feel, my mental health, my mental stability just feels just generally stronger at that time. So, just even from the day-to-day motions, I definitely feel that connection.
Especially since when I came to college as a first generation, none of my parents or my grandparents came to college. I felt really isolated. It's like my first time on campus, and it's like, COVID was happening too during that time. So it was like very much unwary of everything. And it just was really scary. I was isolated because of COVID, because so much restrictions, and we're always stuck in our dorms. So I was also alone, and I started to lean into my religion because I had thoughts of my mental health thoughts were do I deserve to be here on this campus? Am I meant to be here? Am I do I have the abilities to be here? It's all those negative and really downpouring thoughts. And the pressure of being that mono-minority as an Asian really brought that pressure too. And it just really was a lot of pressure. And that just everything just over my mental health, whoa. So I started listening to specifically Thai Buddhist chants, and I would listen to them, and it really helped me and really be more proud of my identity and be proud of my religion and be more outspoken about it. I wanted to learn more my own language. I also wanted to learn the chants.
There's this loneliness when you're alone, and when you think about religion and you think about from a individual perspective, but when you connect to community, or you find other people that also have that same religion as you kind of find that you're not alone. In a way, it's a privilege and a blessing to find people that have this strong commonality with, and you just want to do with this community, and you work your absolute hardest to kind of have the flow of the community to be a safe space. And it's something, because it is a safe space, and you want it to be a safe space for other people the way it was for you.
I think, so for Hillel, the Jewish institution on campus for students, I'm an engagement intern, which means that I go on coffee dates with students, and I find prospective students, or maybe freshmen or even juniors or seniors that aren't as involved and want to get involved, and I go and meet with them and take them on coffee dates and help them find a way to find comfort with this space on campus and with being Jewish, especially with the way the world is now. How do we kind of want to show our Judaism and be proud of it in a way that you're comfortable with? And so I do a lot of that, and I do all the tabling events and stuff like that, and being part of a Jewish a cappella group and a pretty Jewish sorority as well. But then I'm also the holiday chair, so I plan and lead all the holidays with the rabbi, and I sit on the leadership council as well. My friends call me extracurricular. They're you do everything.
I became even more religious through hospitality at church, so helping bringing in the body of Christ, or bringing the wine, collect the money. So those small details became even closer to God, and I feel I became more involved. And then I took another big step within religion, and I actually started singing in the choir. And honestly, just singing in the choir feels I was opening the Bible feeling. So it's the same concept, and it just felt so amazing. It was just so much.
Right now, the temple is really struggling with getting the newer generation, because the older generation is getting really old. They're unable to do this and that. So they're trying to recruit people of my age and my identity. But it's kind of hard when everybody is kind of ignoring it. Like they like the fun aspects, the party aspects, but they don't realize the cultural customs. They want to bring in pride of their culture and their identity, but at the same time, they're also ashamed of it, which is like, I feel like for me, I'm just a person that I like to teach and I like to, you know, speak about it and like really be vocal and like really teach like my cousins who are younger and just other people like about Buddhism, because a lot of people when they get older, they really do ignore it. But then when it gets to the point where like their parents are getting old and like they're not following the customs, their parents get mad. They're just like, well, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, so maybe I could share a little bit more about my like story in terms of how I got really involved about thinking about this like intersection. So after my freshman year of undergrad, I had the amazing opportunity to be connected with a lab at the Medical College of Wisconsin led by Dr. Asam Padela, who is the founder of the Initiative on Islam and Medicine. So his work really, like he does investigation and research at the intersection of Islam and bioethics, for everything ranging from like what are the bioethical considerations on a certain topic, to even making sure that there is like equity in professional spaces for Muslims. So that research is what really introduced me to that field. I was specifically involved in a project. So the Initiative on Islam and Medicine, they put together a series of curriculum, which they presented to high schoolers in the Chicago area as well as in Malaysia. So they had presented that curriculum and my involvement was really helping to create a booklet to help present the work that the students had done. And my role was really screening through and reading some of the essays that these high schoolers had like reflected on regarding their experiences. And through reading those essays, I was personally very intrigued to hear about what they had learned. And I was thinking, you know, I want to learn more about this. There aren't really spaces like any university that I've seen where we get to sit and talk about the intersection between science and religion, really dig deep into, you know, where not necessarily they conflict, but sometimes how we can even use science or even the thought process about thinking about religion or the thought process about thinking about science to kind of use them to better understand the two. So that was really my inspiration for starting the Islamic STEM Association. Since then, we've really grown to not only continue to foster dialogue at this intersection, but also, you know, do outreach with communities in the Madison and Milwaukee area, science outreach with younger students, as well as more professional development. So that's kind of my reason for getting involved and really starting this initiative. Allahu Akbar,
Allahu Akbar. I'm less active because I'm inside more. And when I'm inside more, I don't get to see as many people as I would in the summer. And I'm in my head a lot. And either in my head or my phone. And social media and things like that are pretty negative. So that's like a double whammy. Like, I don't get to have that like one-on-one talk with other people where I can like verbalize something that like either bothers me or like something I just want to talk about, and it like accumulates in my head and there's just so much going on at once. When I'm social, it's like an opportunity where I'm confident in who I am as a person. I just don't know that is like translated outside, and I just assume the worst because like I just assume the worst all the time. So my most comfortable, my most connected is when I'm with other Black Muslims, because it's like those two identities that's so external is already common. So I have time to kind of talk about those like hidden aspects of me. And I think that's the part that I don't get to like really show off often.
I know when I was younger too, I went through like an identity crisis like during like puberty. So I went through like this big identity crisis, and like what really dragged me out of that like negative space as a kid was reading Buddhist quotes from Buddha. And my favorite Buddha quote would always be, is like, do not dwell in the past, do not worry about the future, but stay here in the present. And I use these, if I were to get a tattoo, I would get a tattoo of that. But I use those quotes to keep me grounded and to remind myself that to be here in the present, because I do worry a lot about the future and I do worry about my past mistakes. And that helped me really ground myself. And I think religion, and especially Buddhism, we do a lot of meditation, you do a lot of prayers and chantings, and you do a lot of like grounding work. So I think that helps with a lot of people's mental health to be able to ground themselves, because that everything that's happening in the world and everything that's happening in your own like inner demons, and like if you worry about your past mistakes too much and you don't want to make it no more, you have to remember, I'm here now, and I'm here now. So don't be afraid to like make mistakes, because the future is whatever, like you can make of it. And I think that really helped pull me out of that like really negative space.
Another way, I believe it's like losing myself, and just, it's a lot of like not self-love back then. Like I felt really down. I was in my lowest, deepest darkness, and it was a time where like I was so depressed. I was thinking suicidal. It was just not easy for me. And also like it was that time of season where everybody goes to their own group of friends, and it just felt lonely. And honestly, I felt like I didn't belong anywhere. But overall, I just went back, and usually I don't express how I feel just because of trust issues. But my mother she's always my reminder, where she's like, talk to God, open the Bible. And for once, when I opened the Bible for the very first time, whenever like I was like feeling down, I was like crying on my bed. I didn't know what to do. So I was like, let me open the Bible and see what I can do. Or just let me see, I hope it works. I opened it and I read a few words of God. And when I read it, I just felt so refreshed. Like everything that I had deep down and everywhere in my body, everything came out. I don't know how, but I feel like it was just God's work of releasing everything that I had inside. And honestly, little by little, I'm still learning how to communicate even more with God.
Yeah, I think maybe I can speak a little bit more broadly than just necessarily like prayer on a daily basis. But I think, there are moments I think as Muslims, we really strive to do our best in terms of practicing the religion, whether it's like, there are times where we'll make a mistake, or, we won't do the right thing, or maybe we won't pray on time. So there is maybe a sense of guilt and like, you can do better like the next time. But I think there's solace in knowing that Islam is perfect, but we are not perfect. Like as Muslims, we're not perfect. So as long as we're always like striving to do better the next time, and I think that helps as a part of that process in terms of just knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all forgiving. And, we are human. So like, I think allowing yourself that grace can ease off that pressure and help practicing the religion a little bit more easier for you. So that's at least my perspective on that.
I'll share this and you can put this in the video. Like I'm totally fine with that. My brother passed away a few years back from something called sudden unexplained death in childhood. And so he went to bed and then just did not wake up. And that was the hardest thing I've ever had to go through in my entire life. And even though I wish he was here every single day, and I think there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about him, losing him has really set the basis for like how I function as a person, because it gave me a perspective that is so unique. Like I get stressed out. Yes, I sometimes take on more than I can probably do at a given moment. But at the same time, whenever I'm feeling those feelings, I go back to like, okay, like the world is bigger than this like moment of stress. Like this is going to pass. Like other things have happened, bigger things have happened. And I think I started noticing that from like a super early stage when I was super young, because, losing my brother, I kind of realized, okay, like what's important in life? Like It's the people you love, and it's your family, and it's your friends. Like, it's not that test that you might do bad on, or it's not, being late to something. And I do get stressed out, but I always try to like center my mind and bring myself back to like, okay, why am I doing this? What type of person am I? Like, I'm doing the best I can. I can control what I can control. Like, it's gonna be okay. And I think my brother's a very grounding force for me. Like, I constantly am thinking about him, and he's like pretty much the why behind like everything I do, community involvement wise and engagement wise. And just like how I act as a person. And so, yeah, I think that's how I deal with stress, is like going back to like, okay, what grounds me, and seeing the bigger picture that life is going to keep going, whether you get an F on a test or are late to a meeting or can't make it to something one time. Like, the world's going to keep spinning, and it's going to be okay.
For me, I think I used it for more my faith and more for my grounding, to ground myself. So I know my older cousin, when she came to college, she was at like a really depressive point too. And she said she started going to church. And I was like, whoa, you went to church? That's really different. Because we go to the temple, we're Buddhists, we do stuff like that. Going to church is something out of the worldly. Like, I went to a church 2 times just to, experience it. Oh, what are you guys doing? And I got kind of lost because I didn't know the stories, low-key. But just like stuff like that. And I think because of that point and that pivot for me in college, I started to learn more about the customs in my religion and started to follow it more, be more serious. Because as a kid, I kind of just played around, say, oh, that's just how it is. This is how we have to do it. But I don't have to follow any of that stuff, like just like that. But as I got older, I'm just like, wait, I should like really follow these things, keep it alive. But also like, I actually sit and do the chants. Like, at the temple is like 4 hours long in the morning, and I actually sit there and do it. Instead, when I was a kid, I used to sneak off and play in the little basement with all the other kids being bad. But now I actually sit there and like, I know how to do the chants, and I actually sit there and learn the customs from my elders and from my family. I think it is a lost tradition, but college really gave me that push to be more into my faith.
I think when I'm feeling extremely overwhelmed, a lot of times I will call my family. I'm very like, I talk to my mom and like almost every day. So like just having like my family, my sisters, my dad, my mom, just being able to like call them and just, whether it's not necessarily like venting, but also just like sharing, what's going on and helping, sometimes just having their perspective, they sometimes help me think about like the bigger picture. I think that's really good. So I think a lot of times my way of like stress management is just like talking through things with like other people.
And my grandma does this too, where they like, if they're really stressed at work or just like life events, they would listen to chants too. And they found that it was really helpful and actually calmed them down too. So I think that like really helps a lot of us.
After listening to everybody talk, I realized everybody just wants to be seen. Religion can sometimes feel like a sensitive or a private topic, and people don't always feel comfortable talking about it openly. Religion can be misunderstood or stigmatized. Sometimes religion is seen as the reason for mental health struggles, or as something that can make conversations about mental health harder to have, creating barriers between religion and mental health. There can even be claims that religion and mental health are in opposition. This documentary isn't meant to negate people's negative experience with religion. Like this documentary, many of those claims are tied to personal experience. In this documentary, it offers a different perspective, how religion can be a powerful source of comfort. It can give people a sense of purpose, routine, and stability. It offers a community, a space to feel supported and connected to something larger than themselves. Practices like prayer, reflection, or gathering with others can create moments of calm and unity. It can aid in a positive impact in mental health, similar to what people might find in therapy or mindful practices like yoga. Religion can and has coexisted with mental health. In difficult moments, faith can help people process what they're going through, or simply remind them that they're not alone. So I wanted to listen to the 4 students to move beyond assumptions and hear directly from them about how their faith shapes their well-being. To answer, can religion or has religion always coexisted with mental health?